Guys, it's Mike's Soul Dragon channel, and I want to take a quick look at what was my favorite book from this week, Absolute Superman number 6. Now, it has been a pleasant surprise to me that this book was my favorite book of the week, and that is because I had thrown the towel in on issues 1 and 2. And I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. Didn't want to read anymore. It was too radically different. But my comic shop owner cut me a deal on 1 through 5. He said, give it a chance. It's picked up quite a bit since the first 2 issues, and I think you might like it. So I binged 1 through 5 and absolutely loved it. So 6 came out this week, and I want to go through it really fast. And it opens up with the destruction of Krypton. And when we last saw it, the space caravan of surviving Kryptonians had blown up, and all that was left was assorted escape pods. Now, Kal-El is in one of these escape pods by himself, and the big difference between this and what we previously know about Superman, Superman's probably about 10 or 12 years old right here. And he is in this pod by himself. And previously when we see him, he's in outer space as a baby in some sort of, deep sleep hibernation type deal. But this Superman is in this pod traveling through space by himself, and he's totally awake the whole time. So this issue opens up with him basically just having to deal with the fact that his planet blew up. He is a survivor, and he is basically in this lifeboat all by himself with nothing to do. And we see at the top of this panel right here, 17 months and 14 days. So he's been in here for what is basically about a year and a half by himself before they find Earth. Then we see the familiar farmlands of Kansas, so we know we're here in Smallville, and we meet John and Martha Kent, and they are very similar characters to Jor-El and Laurel on Krypton. People that are hard workers. They're outside working in the field, talking about farming and everything. So we see them, and they kind of have the similar character aspects that Clark's parents do on Krypton. Now, this is an interesting little tidbit here. Martha talks about the Lazarus Corporation, and she says, I've seen this one video about these pits of theirs that they'll make you younger for $1 million a minute. So the Lazarus Corporation has these rejuvenation pits. Now that is very, when I read this, that kind of set off a red flag for me. And as we'll see, as we get towards the end of this book, that red flag will pay off in regards to what those pits are about. So we see the ship crashes or lands or whatever in front of the Kents. Superman emerges from it with the red space dust cape. The Clarks take him in, or the Kents take him in, and he kind of is basically like in a, kind of like a coma. He's in like a deep sleep. He's having, spells, episodes, probably like nightmares or whatever of everything he's experienced, the planet blowing up, him being in that life pod for 17 months. And then you got this breakdown here that basically shows him exploring, running through his surroundings. And one of the things that he says is that even though, where is it? He says even though that this was like a foreign land, this was a strange world to him, he still understood it. He still understood its similarities to the farmland he grew up in on Krypton. Just a beautiful widescreen shot right here of him soaking up the sun. And then, of course, we see all the stuff we've come to know from, the previous origins of Superman. He helps out the Kents, and we see him displaying his strength to them, Oh, here it is right here. John tells him, he goes, "I don't know what you are or where you come from, and I've never heard any language that sounds like the one you speak, but I know a farmer's boy when I see one." So they recognize that Clark or Kal-El is from, basically, even though he's from outer space, he's still used to working hard and working with his hands in the land. So we kind of have right here is when the Lazarus Corporation has found out that Clark Kent is there. This guy here, he called up, he dropped a dime on him. And so the Peacemakers, they show up to take Clark away from them. And he kind of fights back a little bit, not very violently. He says here, "I'd spent months weeping for Krypton, for everything I'd lost, but that day the tears were different. I wept for the world I'd found, the one I could already tell I wouldn't be able to save any more than I had the last." So he sees the similarities between the Peacemakers. He sees this Lazarus Corporation, and they all put him in the mindset of the world he just left. And that, like I said, that's the big difference between the previous one. He's basically a child. He has recollection and memories of Krypton, and he sees the same situations playing out here where he just landed. Now, this here was the big twist for me. They had mentioned earlier about the pits that restored youth and vitality. This is the Lazarus Core Research and Development Center. Lazarus Pit deactivating. Who do we know that always uses a Lazarus Pit? Ra's al Ghul. So the guy who is a quintessential Batman villain is the big bad of this Superman story. He is the guy who is in charge and running the Lazarus Corporation. So he's running the Lazarus Corporation, and then the Brainiac AI is also involved as well. So just incredibly strong issue of Absolute Superman from Jason Aaron and Carmine Di Giadamanco. I'm sure I butchered that, but this is episode 6, or issue 6, that's to say. It's the epilogue for the previous story time. So if you bought the first trade paper, the previous storyline, so if you bought the trade paperback when it comes out, it would probably be these first 6 issues. This is what you would get. But all in all, an incredibly strong story. That is why it is my pick of the week out of all the books I got. And it's a book that I'm also glad I was 100% wrong about. And I'm glad that I took the time to come back to it and try it again once it had got its footing. So until next time, you guys take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.